Samsaradava nalalidaloka Tranaya karuna gana ganatvam Praptasya kalyana gunanavasya Vande Guru Shri Charanaravinda Mahaprabhu Kirtana Nitya Gita Vaditra Madhyan Manasorasena Romancha Kampa Shutaranga Vajo Vande Guru Shri Charanaravinda Shri Vigrahara Dana Nityanana Shingarathan Mandiramarjanado Yuktasya bhaktan staniyunjatopi Vande Guru Shri Charanaravinda Chaturvida Shri Bhagavat Prasada Swadana Triptan Haribaksha Sangram Kritraiva Triptim Bhajata Sadaiva Vande Guru Shri Charanaravinda Shri Radhika Madhava Yurabhara Madhurya Leela Ganarupanam Nam Pratikshanazvadanalolupasya Vande Guru Shri Charanaravinda Vande Guru Shri Charanaravinda Vande Guru Shri Charanaravinda Nikunjayo no rati keli sedhai Yayali vir yukti rapekshaniyai Tatrati daksha ativalabhasya Vande Guru Shri Charanaravindam. Sakshadarittvena samastashatsre uktastatha bhayate vasadhi. Kinto prabhoya priya eva tasya Vande Guru Shri Charanaravindam. Yasya prasada bhagavat prasada Yasya prasada nagati kutapi. Jayam stuvam stasaya satri sadyam Vande Guru Shri Charanaravindam. Vande Guru Shri Charanaravindam. Vande Guru Shri Charanaravindam. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Chaitanya
Chaitanya
Prabhu Nityananda
Nityananda
Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya
Chaitanya
Prabhu Nityananda
Nityananda
Shri Advaita Gadadara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare Hare,
Hare Rama, Hare Rama,
Rama
Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare Hare,
Hare Rama, Hare Rama,
Rama
Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare.
Jaya Radha Nilamadava Radha Nilamadava Radhe.
Jaya Radha Nilamadava Radha Nilamadava Radhe.
Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Shri Radhe. Jai Radhe,
Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Shri Radhe.
Jaya Jagannatha, Jaya Baladeva, Jaya Subhadrama, Jaya Sudarshan Chakra.
Jaya Jagannatha, Jaya Baladeva, Subhadrama, Jaya Sudarshan Chakra.
Jaya Sitaram, Jaya Sitaram, Sitaram, Jaya Lakshman Hanuman.
Jaya Sitaram, 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 Jaya Lakshmana Hanuman.
Jaya Lakshmi Narasingha, Jaya Lakshmi Narasingha, Lakshmi Narasingha, Jaya Lakshmi Narasingha.
Jaya Lakshmi Narasingha, Jaya Lakshmi Narasingha, Jaya Lakshmi Narasingha, Jaya Lakshmi Narasingha.
Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai, Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai.
Jaya Gauranita, 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 Jaya Gauranita.
Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai, Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai.
Jaya Gauranita, 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 Jaya Gauranita.
Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada.
Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada.
Jaya Gurudeva, Jaya Gurudeva, Gurudeva, Jaya Gurudeva.
Jaya Gurudeva, Jaya Gurudeva, Gurudeva, Jaya
Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol,
Nitai Gaura Hari Bol,
Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol.
Jai Vishnupada Paramahansa Prabhajaka Acharya Sutara Srimad ISKCON Pratishta Bibhiti Samstapakacharya Vaishnava Siramani Gaura Prijana Krishna Prema Bhakti Patita Pavana. His Divine Grace Bhacharavina Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Shri Prabhupada Ji Ki Jai, Shri Gauriya Guru Varga Patita Udhari Ki Jai, Shri Rupa Sanatana Bhatta Raghunath Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Guna Sat Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai, Namacharya Shila Haridas Thakur Ji Ki Jai, Nanta Koti Vaishnavrendi Ki Jai, Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrindi Ki Jai, Param Dayal Nityananda Prabhu Ki Jai, Jai Pramanam Sankirtane Ka Janaka Prema Purushottama Shri Satchidananda Nishman Gauranga Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Gaur Hari Mahavarana Avatar Ki Jai, Golokera Pramadhan Harinam Sankirtan Jaya Ki Jai, Jugo Dharma Hare Krishna Mahamantra Ki Jai, Brihat Nidanga Transcendental Book Distribution Seva Ki Jai, Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopupna Radha Kund Samakund Giriraj Govardhan Ki Jai, Shri Brajabim Vrindavan Mathura Ki Jai, Dear Lordship Shri Radha Nilamadhava Ki Jai, Shri Mayapur Navadvip Eka Chakra Dham Ki Jai, Parama Karuna Shri Gaur Nitai Ki Jai, Shri Purushottama Kitra Jagannath Pridham Ki Jai, Shri Shri Jagannath Swami Baladev Prabhu Smasbhadra Devi Sudarshan Chakra Bhagavan Ki Jai, Bhakti Sarva Vigna Vinashana Kanishingare Bhagavan Ki Jai, Jaganga Mai Jamuna Mai Ki Jai, Tulasi Maharani Vrindi Devi Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Bolo Shri Maturadharani Ki Jai, Shamavita Bhakta Vrindi Ki Jai, Shri Vamana Dev Appearance Day Ki Jai, Nitai Gaurari Pramanande, Shri Vamana Bhagavan Abhirvavatiti Ki Jai, all glories to the assembled bodies, all glories to the assembled bodies, all glories to the assembled bodies. All glories, all glories, all glories. Shri Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. What do you want to sing? What do you want to sing? Tulsi? Nishinga? Okay.
Namaste Narasimhaya, Namaste Narasimhaya, Namaste Narasimhaya, Praladalaine,
Praladalaine,
Hiranyakashipu Vakshaha,
Hiranyakashipu Vaksha,
Shrilatam Kanakalaye,
Selatankanakalaye,
Ito Narasimho Parato Narasimho,
Ito Nisingho Aparato
Narasimho, Yato Yato Yami Tato Narasimho,
Jaya Jato Jato Jami Tato Nisingho,
Bahe Narasimho, Hrudaye Narasimho,
Bhaya Nisingho, Hrudaye Nisingho,
Narasimhamadim Sharanam Prapade,
Narasimhamadim शरणं प्रपदे
तव कर कमलवरे नखो अद्भुत शृङ्गार दलिता हिरण्यकशिपु तनुभृङ्गा केशवधृता नरहरिरूपा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे
तव कर कमलवरे नखो अद्भुत शृङ्गार दलिता हिरण्यकशिपु तनुभृङ्गा केशवधृता नरहरिरूपा जय जगदीश रे जय जगदीश रे जय जगदीश रे
केशवधृता नरहरिरूपा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे
जय केशवधृता नरहरिरूपा जय जगदीश रे जय जगदीश रे जय जगदीश रे
जय नरसिंहदेव जय नरसिंहदेव जय नरसिंहदेव जय नरसिंहदेव
जय
नरसिंहदेव जय नरसिंहदेव जय नरसिंहदेव जय नरसिंहदेव जय प्रहलाद महाराज जय प्रहलाद महाराज जय प्रहलाद महाराज या प्रहलाद महाराज जय प्रहलाद महाराज जय प्रहलाद महाराज प्रहलाद महाराज जय प्रहलाद महाराज नित्य गौरा हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल नित्य गौर हरि बोल
नित्य गौर
हरि बोल
हरि बोल
हरि बोल नित्य गौर हरि बोल जय जय प्रभुपा 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 जय जय प्रभुपा
जय जय
प्रभुपा 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 जय जय प्रभुपा जय जय गुरुदेव 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 जय जय गुरुदेव
जय
जय गुरुदेव 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 जय जय गुरुदेव
जय श्री श्री भक्ति पद सर्व विघ्न विनाशन कनिष्ठ हरि भगवान की जय जय भक्त श्रेष्ठ प्रहलाद महाराज की जय गौरी प्रमानंदे हरि 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 बोल श्री वृंदाई तुलसी देवाय प्रियाय केशव सत्य विष्णु भक्ति प्रदेवी शतवताय नमो नमः वृंदाय तुलसी देवाय प्रियाय केशव सत्य विष्णु भक्ति प्रदेवी शतवताय नमो नमः वृंदाय तुलसी देवाय प्रियाय केशव सत्य Nitya Krishna Bhakti Prade Devi Shatavatai Namo Namo. Jai Shrimati Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi Ki Jai. Namo Namaha Tulasi Krishna Preyasi Namo Namaha Tulasi Krishna Preyasi Tulasi Krishna Preyasi Nama Nama Tulasi Radha Krishna Seva Pavam Eyavi Lasi Radha Krishna Seva Pavam Eyavi Lasi Chetomara Sharanala Taravancha Purna Kripa Kari Karatare Vrindavana Vasi Tumi Namo Namo Moraya Vila Vilas Kunje Diyava Nayane Ribo Sada Jogala Ruparasi Ami Ini Vedana Dhara Sakiranu Gata Karo Sevayadi Karo Diye Koro Nijadasi Dina Krishna Dase Koi Ei enamorao Shri Radha Govinda Preme Sada Yenavasi Shri Radha Govinda Preme Sada Yenavasi Amen. Yani kanisa papane brahmahatari kanisa tanitane pranashanti pradakshina pade pade Yani kanisa papane Brahmatari Kanisha, Tani Tani Prana, Shanti Pradakshina Pade Pade. Yani Kanisha Papane, Brahmatari Kanisha, Tani Tani Prana, Shanti Pradakshina Pade Pade. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Jaya Tulsi Maharani Jaya Vrinda Devi, Tulsi Maharani Jaya Vrinda Devi. Nitai Gora Haribo, 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 Nitai Gora Haribo. Shri Vrindai Tulasi Bai Priyai Kesava Satya Vishnu Bhakti Pradidevi Satavatai Namaha. Vrindai Tulasi Bai Priyai Kesava Satya Vishnu Bhakti Pradidevi Satavatai Namaha. Vrindayai Tulasi Devyai Priyayai Kesava Satya Krishna Bhakti Pradidevi Satavatai Namaha. Jai Shrimati Tulasi Maharani Vrinda Devi Ki Jai. Beloved Krishna, I bow before you again and again. My desire to obtain the service of Shri Radha and Krishna. Whoever takes shelter of you as wishes fulfilled, bestow your mercy upon him, you make him resident of Vrindavan. My desire is that you also grant me a residence in pleasure groves of Shri Vrindavan Dham. Thus, within my vision, I will always behold the beautiful pastimes of Radha and Krishna. I beg you to make me a follower carry damsels of Raj. Please give me the privilege of devotional service and make me your own maid servant. This very fallen and lowly servant of Krishna praise. May I always swim in love with Shri Radha Govind, Srimati Tulsi Maharani, Brindi Devi ki jai. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Shikhastakam ki jai. Chaito Darpanam Ajanam Bhava Mahadavagni Nirvapanam Shri Akari Vachandrika Vitaranam Vidya Badhu Jivanam Anandam Buddhivardhanam Pratipadam Purnamrita Sadhanam Sarvatmasnam Param Param Vijayati Shri Krishna Sankirtanam Nam Nam Akari Baudha Nija Sarva Shaktis Tatrarpita Niyamita Shmarane Nakala Ita Drusitava Kripaya Bhagavan Mamaki Durdhaivam Idishamya Jane Nanuraga Trinadapi Sunichena Tarorapi Sashrana Amanina Amanadena Kirtaniya Sada Hari Radhanam Najanam Nasundarim Kavitam Vacha Karishakamaye Mama Janmani Janmanishwari Bhavatar Bhakti Raitu Kitoi Oinandatanuja Kinkaram Paritamam Vishrame Bhavam Budau Kripaya Tavapada Pankaja Stita Dhuli Sadrisham Vichintaya Nayanangara Budhaya Gira Purakai Rinchitam Vapukada Tavanam Grahane Bhavishyati Jugai Itam Nimishena Chakrisha Prarusha Itam Shunya Itam Jagata Sarvam Govinda Virahe Name Asli Shabhapadaratam Pinastumam Adarshanar Marmahatam Karotuva Jatat Khava Vidadhatu Lampatu Matpranatastu Saivana Paro Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Shikhastakam ki jai. Namo Mahavarannaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namine Gauratishe Namaha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Saminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devam Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shrunavadi Patsatari Satarine. Glory to the Shri Krishna Sankirtana, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fiery condition of life for repeated birth and death. This Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large, because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss and enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we're always anxious. O my Lord, your holy name alone can render all benediction to living beings, and thus you have hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names, you have invested all your transcendental energies. There are not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. O my Lord, out of kindness, you enable us to easily approach you by your holy names, but I'm so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them. Once you chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than straw in the street, one should be more tolerant than the tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer our respect to others. In such state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your causative devotional service, birth after birth. O son of Maharajananda Krishna, I am your eternal servitor. Yet somehow or other I am fallen in this ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet. O my Lord, when will my eyes will be decorated with tears of love flowing constantly when I chant your holy name? When will my voice choke up and will the hairs of my body stand on the end of the recitation of your name? O Govinda, feeling your separation, I am considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I'm feeling all vacant in the world in your absence. I know no one but Krishna as my Lord, and it sure remains so, even if it handles me roughly by his embrace, or makes me broken-hearted by not being present before me. He is completely free to do anything and everything, for he is always my worshipful Lord unconditionally. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Shri Kyastakam Ki Jai. There are 10 offenses in the matter of chanting the holy name of the Lord that should be avoided. They are as follows. 1. To blaspheme the devotee whose dedicated life for propagating the holy name of the Lord. 2. To consider the names of demigods and Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma to be equal to or independent of the name Lord Vishnu. 3. To disobey the orders of the spiritual master. 4. To blaspheme the Vedic scriptures or scriptures and pursuits of Vedic version. 5. To consider the glories of chanting Hare Krishna to be imagination. 6. To give some interpretations to the holy name of the Lord. 7. To commit sinful activities on strength of chanting the holy name. 8. To consider the chanting of Hare Krishna as one of the auspicious ritualistic activities which are often vedas as fruitive activities, karma kanda. 9 is to instruct the faithless person by the glories of the holy name. And 10, to not have complete faith in chanting the holy names and to maintain material attachments, even after understanding so many instructions on this matter. It also an offense to be inattentive while chanting. Every devotee who claims to be Vaishnava must carefully guard against these 10 offenses in order to quickly achieve the desired success. Krishna Prema. Now let us offer our most humble obeisance unto all the Vaishnavas, devotees of the Lord. They are just like desired trees that can fulfill the desires of everyone, and they are full of compassion for the fallen conditioned souls. Jai Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyaivacha Paritanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Anantakoti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai.
Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presta Saraswati Shiva Savanavi Devi Dayitaya Kripavdaye Krishna Sambandhavijnana Namaha Madhur Ujvala Premadya Shri Rupanuga Bhaktida Shri Gora Karuna Shakti Vigrahaya Namostute Namaste Murvani Shri Murtaye Dinatarine Rupanuga Virudbhapa Apasiddhanta Dvantaharine Namo Shuraya Sakshadvairagya Murtaye Vishnuramba Bode Padambo Jayate Namaha Namo Bhakti Vinodaya Sachitananda Namine Gora Shakti Swarupaya Rupanuga Varayate Goravir Bhava Bhumestvam Nirdesta Sajjana Priya Vaishnava Savat Uma Shri Jagannathayate Namaha Panchakalpa Durabhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Padayate Krishna Krishna Chaitanya Namne Guru Chuse Namaha Panchatatvatmakam Krishnam Bhakta Rupa Swarupakam Bhakta Avataram Bhakta Akam Namami Bhakta Saktikam Hey Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radhakanta Namostate Jayatam Surator Bangur Mama Manda Mater Gati Matsarva Swapadam Bujo Radha Madana Mohano Divyat Vindaranya Kalpradumadaha Samadradha Radha Shila Govinda Devo Prastali Bihi Sevyamana Smarami Shiman Rasa Rasaram Bivam Sivata Tatastita Karsan Venus Swanir Gopil Gopinatak Striyestuna Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu State Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Dvaita Gadadhar Sivasana Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Shri Brahma Samiti Ki Jai Ishwara Parama Krishna Sachitananda Vigraha Anadiradi Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam Chentam Ni Prakara Sadma Sukalpa Riksha Laksa Vite Susura Vira Pipalyantam Lakshmi Sahasra Sata Sambrahma Sevyamanam Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Venun Kvanantam Aravinda Dalayataksham Barhavatam Samasitam Buddha Sundarankam Kandar Prakoti Kamaniya Visesha Sobham Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Alola Chandra Gala Sadvanamalya Vamsi Ratnam Gadam Pranay Keli Kalavilasam Shamam Tribanga Lalita Nita Prakasam Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Angani Yasyasa Kalendriya Ritimanti Pasyanti Pantikayanti Chiram Jaganti Ananda Chinmaya Sadujvala Vigrahasya Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Advaitam Achyutam Anadim Ananta Rupa Madhyam Purana Purisham Navayovanam Cha Vedesa Durlabam Adurlabam Atma Bhakto Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Pantastukoti Satavatsara Sampragamyo Vayora Tapi Manasomani Pungamana Sobhyasti Yat Prapadasinya Vichintya Tatve Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Yaikopya Sora Chaitam Jagadanda Koti Yaschakti Rasti Jagadanda Jaya Yadanta Andanta Rasta Paramanu Chayantarastam Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Yad Bhava Bhavita Diyo Manajasta Taiva Samprapya Rupa Mahima Sanayanabusa Suktarya Meva Nigama Pratitastuvanti Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Ananda Chinmaya Rasa Pratibhavita Bistabirya Eva Nicharupa Taya Kalabi Goloka Eva Nivsata Kilapma Bhuto Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochanena Santaksa Deva Yadesa Vilokanti Yam Shama Sundaram Achintya Gunaswarupam Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Ramadi Murti Sukalani Menatista Nanavatar Makarod Bhuvanesakintu Krishna Swayam Samabhavat Paramam Pamamyo Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Yasya Prabha Pavato Jagananda Koti Yukoti Svasesa Vasudadi Vibhuti Binam Tad Brahmanis Kalamanantam Asesa Bhutam Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Mayahi Yasya Jagadanda Satani Sute Trigunya Tad Visaya Veda Vitayamanam Satvavulam Bipara Satvam Visuddha Satvam Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Ananda Chinmaya Satmatayamanasu Yapraninam Patifalam Swanatam Ubekya Lilayatena Bhuvanani Jaya Jastram Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Goloka Namni Nichitamni Talichitasya Devi Maheswari Dama Sute 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 Te Prabhavini Chaya Vitasya Yena Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Sustista Tipulaya Sadhava Saktiroika Chayevi Yasya Bhuvanani Vibharti Durga Ishjana Rupam Abhyasya Sista Tesa Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Siram Yata Dadi Vikara Visesa Yoga Sanjayate Naitata Pritagaste Hetu Yasambhutama Pitatasam Paitikaya Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Diparchare Vita Santanam Abhyapetya Dipayate Vitetu Samanadharma Yastadra Gevhicha Vishnutaya Vibhati Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Akarna Narna Vajale Bhajatisma Bhagani Dramananta Sagananda Saroma Kupa Adhara Sakti Mavalamya Param Samortim Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Yasyaikan Isvasita Kalamata Valampya Jivante Loma Vilaja Jagadandanata Vishnu Mahansa Yasya Kalavi Seso Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Basmanya Tasma Sakalesan Jasu Teja Sriyam Kiyat Prakatayata Pitat Pradatra Brahma Yasa Jagadanda Vidanu Karta Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Yat Pada Palavigam Vidayakam Badwante Pranama Samayasa Ganadi Raja Vignam Vihanta Malamasya Jagatrayasya Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Agnir Mahi Gagan Ambu Burusti Kalasta Tatma Manasiti Jagatrayani Yasmat Bhavanti Vibhavanti Visanti Amcha Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Yes Chaksuresa Savitasa Kalagrahanam Raja Samasta Suramurti Sesa Teja Yes Yagaya Ramati Sambrita Kala Chakro Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Dharmota Papa Nichaya Sutayastapam Sit Brahmadi Kita Patagavati Jiva Yadata Matra Vipava Prakava Pavava Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Yaspindra Gopa Matavendra Mahosva Karma Bandhana Rupa Falabhajana Matanoti Karmani Nirdhati Kintu Chabakti Bhajam Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Yam Kroda Kama Saja Bonarati Beti Vatsalya Moha Guru Guru Vasevya Bhava Sanchinti Tasya Sadvisim Taramapurete Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Shya Kanta Kanta Parama Purisha Kalpatara Vajrama Bhumishtitan Mamikana Mayito Yamamrita Kataganam Natyam Gamanam Apivam Sipriasa Kichinanandam Joti Parama Pitada Swajama Picha Sayatra Shiradi Bishavadi Shirabi Biastu Suman Mimesar Dakyo Vavachiti Nahia Tripit Samaya Vajeswita Dvipanta Maham Iha Kola Kamiti Yam Vedanta Ste Santak Shiti Virachara Katipa Siguru Vastka Prayerski said, spiritual masters receiving benediction from the ocean of mercy, just as the cloud pours water on the forest fire to extinguish it, so the spiritual master delivers the materially afflicted world by extinguishing the blazing fire of material existence. Offer my respectful based on the lotus feet of such spiritual masters, ocean of auspicious qualities, chanting the holy name, dancing in ecstasy, singing and playing musical instruments. Spiritual masters always gladdened by the Sankirtan movement of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because his relatively mellows of pure devotion within his mind. Sometimes his hair stands on end, he feels quivering in his body, and tears flow from the eyes like waves. Offer my respectful based on the lotus feet of such spiritual master. The spiritual master is always engaged in temple worship of Shishi, Radha, and Krishna. He also engages his disciples in such worship. They dress the deities in beautiful clothes and ornaments, clean their temple, and perform other similar worship. But the Lord, offer my respectful based on the lotus feet of such spiritual master. Spiritual master is always offering Krishna 4 kinds of delicious food, analyzes that which is liquid, drunk, and sucked. When the spiritual master sees that the devotee is satisfied by eating Bhagavat Prasadi, he is satisfied. I offer my respectful based on the lotus feet of such spiritual master. Spiritual master is always eager to hear and chant about the unlimited conjugal pastime of Radhika and Madhava and qualities, names, and forms. The spiritual master aspires to relish these at every moment. I offer my respectful based on the lotus feet of such spiritual master. The spiritual master is very dear because he's expert in assisting gopis who at different times make different tasteful arrangements for the perfection of Radha and Krishna's conjugal loving affairs within the groves of Vrindavana. I offer my most humble based on the lotus feet of such spiritual master. Spiritual master is pretty honored, must read the Lord, because he is the most confidential servant to the Lord. This is acknowledged in all real scriptures, followed by all authorities. Therefore, I offer my respectful based on the lotus feet of such spiritual master as bona fide representative of Krishna. By the mercy of the spiritual master, one receives the benediction of Krishna. Without the grace of the spiritual master, one cannot make any advancement. Therefore, I should always remember and praise the spiritual master at least 3 times a day. I should offer my respectful based on the lotus feet of my spiritual master, his divine grace. A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavatam Grantaraj Ki Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Aham Tattvad Vikurvanam.
Aham Tattva Vigurvan.
Mano Vaikarikad Abhut.
Mano Vaikarika Taput.
Vaikarikascha Yedeva.
Vaikarikasya Yedeva.
Artha Bhivyanjanam Yata.
Artha Bhivyanjanam Yataha.
Aham Tattvad.
Aham Tattva.
From the principle of false ego.
Principle of the false
Vikurvanat.
Vikurvana.
By transformation.
By transformation.
Mana.
Mana.
The mind.
The mind.
Vaikarikat.
Vaikarika.
By interaction with the mode of goodness.
By interaction with the
Abhut.
Abhut.
Generated.
Generated.
Vaikarika.
Vaikarika.
By interaction with goodness.
By interaction with goodness.
Cha. Also. Yea.
Yea.
All these.
All these.
Deva.
Deva.
Demigods.
Demigod.
Artha.
Artha.
The phenomenon.
The phenomena.
Abhivyanjanam.
Abhivyanjanam.
Physical knowledge.
Physical knowledge.
Yata.
Yata.
The source.
The source.
Translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. The false ego is transformed into mind by interaction with the mode of goodness. all the demigods who control the phenomenal world are also products of the same principle, namely the interaction of false ego with the mode of goodness. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. False ego, interacting with the different modes of material nature, is the source of all materials in the phenomenal world. Text 31. Taijasanindriyanyeva jnana karma mayani cha. Taijasani, Taijasani, the mode of passion. Indriyani, the senses. Eva, certainly. Jnana, knowledge, philosophical speculations. Karma, fruit of activities. Mayani, predominating. Cha, also. Translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. The senses are certainly products of the mode of passion in false ego. And therefore, philosophical speculative knowledge and fruit of activities are predominantly products of the mode of passion. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. The chief function of the false ego is godlessness. When a person forgets his constitutional position as an eternally subordinate part and parcel of the Supreme Personality Godhead and wants to be happy independently, he functions mainly in two ways. He first attempts to act fruitively for personal gain or sense gratification, and after attempting such fruitive activities for a considerable time, when he is frustrated, he becomes a philosophical speculator and thinks himself to be on the same level as God. This false idea of becoming one with the Lord is the last snare of illusory energy, which traps a living entity into the bondage of forgetfulness under the spell of false ego. The best means of liberation from the clutches of false ego is to give up the habit of philosophical speculation regarding the absolute truth. One should know definitely that the absolute truth is never realized by the philosophical speculations of the imperfect, egotistic persons. The absolute truth, or the Supreme Personality Godhead, is realized by hearing about Him in all submission and love from a bona fide authority who is a representative of the 12 great authorities mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam. By such an attempt only can one conquer the illusory energy of the Lord, although for others she is unsurpassable, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 7:14. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So, Prabhupada is referring to 7:14. Daivihi esa gunamai mama maya durajaya mam evaye prapadyante mayam itam tarantite. So this very important verse, Prabhupada has referred to it as the solution to all problems. And in this verse, Prabhupada explains, this divine energy of mind, consisting of the three modes of material nature, is difficult to overcome. But those who have surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond it. Now, when it says it's difficult to overcome, but here it clearly says in the purport, although for others she is unsurpassable, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 7:14. So, for the speculators, it's impossible to overcome the material nature. But for the devotees, it is possible and even easy to overcome. So when it says in an actual translation, but those who have, it says, it is difficult to overcome. But actually, it's impossible to overcome for the speculators. But for the devotees, it's easy to overcome. Now, that's why, as I explained yesterday and previously, materialists, atheists, non-believers they try to do things that are impossible to achieve. And they fail. But they keep promising that they're going to succeed, such as eventually be able to live eternally in the material body, or to live on other planets with this body, or to eventually conquer birth, death, old age, and disease. So there are many things that they claim that they're going to do, but are impossible to do, according to Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. But the one thing that is most difficult, that is to be able to overcome the control on us by the material nature and the three modes of material nature, is easy for a devotee. So we should think about this very seriously. How has it become easy? Well, it's by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, who has given us the holy names of Krishna, and the holy mantra, Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, and taking prasadam and chanting and dancing while performing kirtan, and going on Sankirtan, and hearing regularly Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. This is the way that one can attain this perfection of life very easily. And Prabhupada writes in a Sunday Feast lecture in London, July 25, 1976, he says, "So people should be very careful, take advantage of this Krishna consciousness movement. It is not a blind, sentimental, religious faith. It is a great science, Vijnanam. Jnana means Paramaguyam Yad Vijnana Samanvitam. Jnanam Teham Pravakshami Yad Vijnana Samanvitam." These are the words. Well, where is that from? That's from the 7th chapter also. The 7th chapter is a very important chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. And it says, Jnanam teham savijnanam idam vakshami asesataha yajgatva nehebyuho nyaj gatavyam avasisyate. I shall now declare unto you in full this knowledge, both phenomenal and numinous. Phenomenal means what you can see, and numinous means what you can't see. So he's going to explain both. This being known, nothing further shall remain for you to know. So in the purport, Prabhupada says the 7.2, complete knowledge includes knowledge of the phenomenal world and the spirit, knowledge of the phenomenal world, the spirit behind it, and the source of both of them. So knowledge of the phenomenal world is knowledge of earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, false ego. And then the spirit behind it, that's the Jivatma. And then the source of both of them, that is Paramatma, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is transcendental knowledge. In other words, you don't just understand the material world. You understand what is visible in the material world, what is not visible in the material world, and what is the source of everything, material and spiritual. The Lord wants to explain the above-mentioned system of knowledge because Arjuna is Krishna's confidential devotee and friend. In the beginning of the 4th chapter, this explanation was given by the Lord. And it is again confirmed here. Complete knowledge can be achieved only by the devotee of the Lord in disciplic succession directly from the Lord. Therefore, one should be intelligent enough to know the source of all knowledge, who is the cause of all causes, and the only object for meditation in all types of yoga practice. When the cause of all causes becomes known, then everything knowable becomes known, and nothing remains unknown. The Vedas, Mundaka Upanishad 1.3, say, Kasmin Bhagavo Vigyate Sarvam Idam Vigyatam Bhavanti. If one can understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead without doubting, as the knower of is the knower of everything, He therefore engages himself in full devotional service of me, O Arjuna. So that's a symptom that we have understood. We're engaged in full devotional service every day throughout our life. So to get such knowledge, one has to have association with pure devotees. And in that association, they hear about Krishna, they chant Krishna's names, and they do all these spiritual activities. Usually it's 5 important things. That is, chant Hare Krishna and associate with devotees and regularly hear the scriptures and go and engage in Sankirtan and engage in deity worship. So if we do these 5 things every day, we will be Krishna conscious. And then Prabhupada says, this Krishna consciousness is vijnana, a great science. Don't think that, these people are sentimentally chanting and dancing. That is the process, very easy made for this age. But if you think yourself that you are a great scientist, great philosopher, then we have got 84 books of 400 pages. If you have got actually learning, you can study them. We can convince you, and people are becoming convinced. We are selling books all over the world daily, $60,000 worth. People are receiving, and they are appreciating. We've got big learned scholars' opinions. And this is July 25th, 1976, at the peak of ISKCON. So the idea is that you must take the Krishna consciousness movement. Otherwise, you are drinking poison knowingly. Anyone, it doesn't matter what you are. Either you're Indian or Englishman or American or Hindu or Muslim, it doesn't matter. Krishna consciousness means God consciousness. I may say, Krishna, and you may say some other name, but this human form of life is meant for this purpose, to understand Krishna or God, not vague idea. Clear idea, what is God? How he looks, what he does. So many things we have to know. It is not vague idea. Simply to have a vague idea of God, that is also good, but that is not perfect. You must know that which is God. So how you can know God? God is explaining himself, coming down for your benefit. That is Krishna. Krishna is explaining himself. I am like this. You see me. You know me. I am explaining myself. And still, if we do not take advantage of understanding God, then just imagine how we are drinking poison knowingly. How rascal we are, that God himself is explaining before me everything about him, and we are not taking advantage of this opportunity, and I am thinking I am independent, etc. This is rascaldom. You are not independent. You are completely under the control of the laws of material nature. How then can you be independent? So this foolishness must be stopped. That is the purpose of Krishna consciousness. Don't remain rascals. Take the Krishna consciousness and be happy. Well, if we think about it carefully, we'll see. What do they teach in schools and in books and in movies and in social media? It's all about being independent, see. It's all about being independent. And we see this, like when kids are like 6, 7, 8, 9, they listen to their parents. They get to be 13, 14, 15, 16. They start arguing with their parents, and they want to be independent. Well, where does that idea come from, to be independent? It's the whole atheistic ethos, or way of thinking, that we are independent in this world. The big philosopher who really espoused this, in his books, was Jean-Paul Sartre, the French idiot philosopher, who claims that there is no such thing as God. Everyone is independent. And everyone can choose their own values in life, and they can always be changing every day, those values. He wrote this ridiculous books, emphasizing that man is independent. You want to look up Jean-Paul Sartre, S-A-R-T-R-E. Jean-Paul Sartre, idiot philosopher. I met him once. Very, very, for a very short time. That he was sitting in a cafe drinking coffee and talking nonsense. What's it say? He's an existentialist. Existentialism, it's basically speculative philosophy of what is man's existence in this earth. Go ahead, read a little bit about it.
So, this is in Wikipedia. It says he was one of the key figures of the philosophy of existentialism, a French playwright, novelist, screenwriter, political activist, biographer, as well as a leading figure in the 20th century French philosophy and Marxism. His work has influenced sociology, critical theory, post-colonial theory, literary studies, and continues to do so. He was also awarded the 1964 Nobel Prize in Literature. So let's see.
Read what he says about existentialism.
Yeah, so Sartre's primary idea is that people as humans are condemned to be free.
Say, there it is. Condemned to be free, independent. Okay, go read a little bit more nonsense.
This may seem paradoxical because condemnation is normally an external judgment which constitutes the conclusion of the judgment. Here, it is not the human who has chosen to be like this. There is a contingency of human existence. It is a condemnation of their being. Their being is not determined, so it is up to everyone to create their own existence, for which then they are responsible.
He's a madman. He's crazy. Create their own existence. Go ahead.
They cannot not be free. There is a form of necessity for freedom which can never be given up. This
form of necessity for freedom that can never be given up. What does that mean? Necessity for freedom that can never be given up. Okay, go ahead, read a little bit more.
This theory relies upon his position that there is no creator and
there's no God. Okay, go ahead.
And is illustrated using the example of the paper cutter. Sartre says that if one considered the paper cutter, one would assume that the creator would have had a plan for it and exists in essence. Sartre said that human beings have no essence before their existence because there is no creator. Thus, existence precedes essence.
You can't figure out what he's saying. I mean, this is a bunch of blah, blah, blah.
This forms the basis for his assertion that because one cannot explain one's own actions and behavior by referring to any specific human nature, they are necessarily fully responsible for those actions. We are left alone without excuse. We can act without being determined by our past, which is always separated from us.
So what he is focusing on, there is no God. Therefore, there's no meaning to existence, right? And you have to. Therefore, you are condemned to be independent. Condemned to be independent means you have to reject any belief in God, any belief that there's a meaning to the universe, and you have to make your own meaning. This is a crazy man, completely opposite to what Krishna is saying.
So I have found some more lines like
You got some more nonsense.
famous.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think it's similar, but it's very concise. It's saying that it's Sartre's famous saying is, "Man is condemned to be free because once thrown into the world, he is responsible for everything he does." Yeah, that's right.
Okay, but
Yeah.
then he says every minute one can reinvent himself.
Basically reject the past.
Yes.
And then, so that's the other thing. We can act without being determined by our past, which is always separated from us.
Yeah, so in other words, every minute you're a new person with a new set of ideals and a new set of theories, a new set of speculations. See? So that's what he means, that you're condemned to be independent. In other words, there's no such thing as shastric authority or God or scriptures or anything like that. He's eliminating everything and just saying that man is condemned to be independent. It means you are condemned to speculate every second of your life.
Yeah,
You see, he puts the living entity in an impossible situation. And it doesn't make sense. It only makes sense to idiots. But anyone who has any little amount of intelligence would see this man's crazy. His philosophy is nuts. He's trying to isolate people. Every person becomes an island in themselves.
Yeah, in fact, the next sentence goes against anything being learned. So Sartre maintained that the concepts of authenticity and individuality have to be earned but not learned.
Well, whatever that means. In other words, you can't learn from the past. You have to learn from the present by reinventing yourself every minute. So he's a crazy man. So, on the other hand, the Lord Chaitanya quoted a verse. He said, "Tarko patista shruteya vibhina nasav rishir yasya matam nabhinam dharmasya tattvam hitam kuhayam mahajana yinikata sapanta." Dry arguments are inconclusive. These are dry arguments right there. And they're inconclusive. A great personality whose opinion does not differ from others is not considered a great sage. Simply by studying the Vedas, which are variegated, one cannot come to the right path by which religious principles are understood. The solid truth of religious principles is hidden in the heart of an unadulterated, self-realized person. Consequently, as the Shastras confirm, one should accept whatever progressive path the Mahajans advocate. Okay. So basically saying, look, you have to go back to the Mahajans and whatever principles they established and followed, that's what you should do. It's not that you're independent to decide whatever you want to do on your own. Right? So then it says, there have been innumerable great devotees whose example we can take. Srimad Bhagavatam also mentions names of 12 Mahajans. So which Mahajan should we look up to? But however, Bhaktivinoda Thakur has said that for us, Gaudiya Vaishnavas, the followers of Mahaprabhu are the modern Mahajans, and we should follow them. And he writes, the Mahajans who have taught conduct before the appearance of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are counted among the previous Mahajanas. The conduct seen in the Mahajanas after the appearance of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the conduct of later Mahajans, or more recent Mahajans, or modern Mahajans. The conduct of the later Mahajans is superior and should be adopted, meaning the conduct of the modern Mahajans should be adopted. The conduct of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his followers is meant to teach people so that conduct should be followed in all respects. So that, no, in other words, who is he talking about now? He's talking about the 6 Goswamis. He's talking about Haridas Thakura, especially, and other intimate devotees of Lord Chaitanya, Swarup Damodar Maharaj, and so forth. Then, if we want to understand what principles have been established by the modern Mahajans, we can take one, for example, that's Haridas Thakur. So, Lord Chaitanya declared that he was the Namacharya, the Acharya of the holy name, in our Sampradaya. So he's definitely one modern Mahajan. So what was his thinking and what was his behavior? And we have to hear about it, so then we can understand what we should be doing. So he was born in a Muslim family, Haridas Thakur, in a village called Buron. And because of his presence in that village, everyone became purified and took up the chanting of the holy name of Krishna, or the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. But after some time, he left that village and traveled to a place near the river Ganges, and he settled in a village called Pulia near Santipura, which you can visit today. It's about, I think, half an hour or 45 minutes from Mayapur. He passed his time wandering on the banks of the Ganga, chanting the name of the Supreme Lord Krishna. It was common to see him dancing while he sang the glories of Lord Krishna's name. People would gather around him just to see the unrestricted tears of love of Godhead that flowed profusely from his eyes, drenching his entire body. Even the strictest atheists marveled at his behavior. The local Qazi became envious of Haridas Thakur's popularity and reported to the Nawab, "This man is acting like a Hindu. Arrest him and punish him appropriately." Thus Haridas Thakur was arrested. In the court, he was accused of practicing of practicing Hindu religion despite being a Muslim, when Sri Haridas Thakur replied that God is one and the difference between Hindu God and Muslim God is in name only. He was sentenced by the Nawab to be lashed in 22 marketplaces until he dies. Well, they still do the same thing today. If someone, they have a right, actually, according to Quran, to kill a Muslim who converts to another religion. That's why even in America, there have been Muslim fathers who have killed their daughters because they started dating, Christians. Killed them right away. Look it up. Muslim father in Alabama kills his 2 daughters. I think it was Alabama. Is it there? Muslim father. Yeah.
So this is actually very recent.
Yeah.
So the Egyptian Yasser Abdul faces 12 years, had killed his 2 daughters for dating non-Muslim boys.
There you go. Just for dating. They didn't even get married. Just because they dated non-Muslim boys, he killed them. So there's nothing strange. They were going to kill Haridas Thakur 500 years ago because he was chanting Hare Krishna. And in other words, they accused him of acting like a Hindu. They arrested him and they punished him by beating him in 22 marketplaces in the village or in the town until he dies. He was then dragged by the soldiers from one marketplace to another, lashing him mercilessly. By the grace of Lord Krishna, Haridasa felt little pain in his body, just like Prahlada in the Srimad Bhagavatam, who was tortured by demons. Haridasa never suffered at all. Not only was Haridas freed from his pain, whoever remembers this story of Srila Haridas will also be saved from the miseries of life. Wow. Good thing we're reading about this. Throughout his ordeal, Haridas's one emotion was pity for the sentries. In other words, pity for the guys that were beating him. There was two people that the Nawab told beat him until he dies. Throughout his ordeal, Haridas's one emotion was pity for the sentries. Sentries means the guards who were beating him. O Lord Krishna, Haridas said, please be merciful upon these poor souls so they may not be punished because of me. Whoa. They're beating him to death and he's praying for their salvation. What Krishna will not do for his pure devotee? During Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Mahaprakash pastime, he called Haridas Thakur and shared that when Haridas Thakur was being beaten, the Lord wanted to kill all the soldiers, but he could not do so because Haridas Thakur himself was praying for those very soldiers. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu revealed, I hesitated in my heart to punish them, for it would disturb you, O Haridas, knowing your compassionate nature. My Sudarshan disc weapon was rendered impotent. I could not strike those men because you were determined to forgive them, and so unable to see your misery, I protected you from their lashes by placing my back on your back. I accepted all those lashes meant for you on my back. See the marks on my back. Well, Lord Chaitanya, when Haridas goes to see Lord Chaitanya, basically Lord Chaitanya turns around and shows him that all the lashes that he got in those 22 marketplaces, he was being beaten, Lord Chaitanya accepted those. That's why he didn't feel anything. That's why Haridas didn't feel anything. When Haridas heard about the Lord's magnanimous deed, he fell swooning to the ground. He lost all external consciousness and was immersed in an ocean of ecstasy. Haridas Thakura said, O Lord Vishwambara, you are the Lord and protector of the universe. Now the responsibility of delivering a lowly fallen wretch like me rests on you. My Lord, how can I describe your transcendental glories, as I do not possess any good qualifications? I am sinful, and I am not even within the Vedic society. Well, yeah, the Brahmanas at that time in Navadvip and Jagannath Puri, they rejected Haridas because they knew he was a Muslim. For them, he would have to be reborn in the next life in a Hindu family in order to be considered a Hindu. Just see, he's hated by the Muslims, he's hated by the Hindus. Not by Lord Chaitanya, of course. But that's why it says that Brahmanas are not pure devotees. Why? Because they're still situated in the mundane mode of goodness. Therefore, they're not pure devotees. They can do Vedic rituals, yes, and I guess blessings or things like that, but they're not yet pure devotees. You have to be a Vaishnava and a pure Vaishnava to be a pure devotee. Just see me make a person vulnerable to sin, and touching me makes one so contaminated that he must bathe immediately. How can I say anything about your divine pastimes? So this is Haridas Thakur saying that he himself is a very fallen person. There is one fact, now he's talking to Lord Chaitanya, he's saying, there is one fact that you yourself have stated. Anyone remembering your lotus feet, be he an insignificant and fallen as an insect, is never forsaken by you, whereas even a mighty king falls from grace if he disregards your lotus feet. I am incapable of remembering you, although I know you shelter the most impoverished soul if he simply remembers you. And then Haridas gives an example. The evil Duryodhana and Susasana dragged the righteous Draupadi into the palace court, wanting to disrobe her. Confronted with the danger of disgrace, she remembered you, Krishna, and because of this you made her sari endlessly long by your mystic potency. Yet the evil doers could not perceive your hand in this. I am so sinful that I cannot remember such a magnanimous personality as you, O Lord. Please, therefore, give me shelter at your lotus feet. And he continues, the demon Hiranyakashipu inflicted all varieties of treachery and brutal methods, trying to kill Prahlad, like poisoning, hurling down from the mountain, throwing in boiling cauldron of oil, etc. Yet, throughout his tribulations, in other words, his troubles, Prahlad meditated upon your lotus feet and was saved from each and every calamity. In this way, you humbled many of his enemies and took away all their vitality and strength finally. You appeared in person due to Prahlad's meditation. So, we see that whenever we are in difficulty, danger, there's, could be war, could be being laid off the job, so many things can happen. We should become more focused on remembering Krishna and meditating on Krishna. Otherwise, we'll be defeated, we'll be discouraged, we'll be completely frustrated by material loss. But if we focus on Krishna, then he will help us. And you'll see his helping hand work miraculously to save you. Lord Chaitanya replied, say all that you want to say. There is nothing that I do not want to give you. So in other words, Lord Chaitanya said, look, you can say you're the most fallen, you can say you can't remember, Lord, but that's not going to stop me from blessing you and giving you all blessings. So Lord Chaitanya says, there's nothing that I do not want to give you, which means in English, I want to give you everything. Right? That's a negative way. There's two negative words. There's nothing and not in the sentence. That means they cancel each other out, and it means the opposite. I want to give you everything. But he says it in a different way. He says, there is nothing that I do not want to give you. You have to know how English works. There's a double negative in this one sentence. Whenever there's a double negative, two negatives cancel each other. It becomes positive. Haridas spoke to the Lord with folded hands. O Lord, I have known only misfortune, yet you give me so much hope. Just allow me to partake of the remnants of foodstuffs of your devotees, totally surrendered to your lotus feet. So he wants the remnants of the devotees, Mahaprasad, what they have not eaten. My sinful birth and existence is miserable, without remembering you. But now, please make my life successful by granting me the remnant of your servitors. In other words, let me have some of your servants, Mahaprasada. I feel within my heart that I have committed a grave offense by asking of you to situate an elevated status of that of a Vaishnava, although I am grossly unfit. So he's saying, you're calling me a Vaishnava, but I don't really deserve it. O Lord, my master, protector, and the maintainer of the entire creation, I am spiritually lifeless. Therefore, kindly forgive my ignorance. O Lord Vishwambara, the beautiful son of Mother Sachi, you are my master, so be merciful to me and keep me as a dog in the house of a Vaishnava. Tomara Kukura, there's a famous saying, oh dear Vaishnava, let me be a dog, and I will sit at the entrance of your room, and anyone who comes to disturb you, I will bark and chase them away. I want to be your dog, Kukur. Haridas Thakur was overwhelmed by feelings of ecstatic devotional emotions, and he repeatedly petitioned the Lord his desire for humility and devotional service unfulfilled. Well, he did ask for something, that he always remained, well, he acted in some way, showing what he wanted from the Lord. He wanted always to be humble and always engaged in devotional service. Lord Chaitanya replied, listen, my dear Haridas, you are a highly elevated Vaishnava. If anyone spends a day in your services and association, or you kindly speak to someone for a short time, that person certainly achieves me. There is no doubt about it. Whoever respects and serves you does so to me also, for I perpetually reside within him. So he's present as Paramatma, and Krishna is the closest person to us. And if one appreciates Haridas Thakur's activities and preaching and example, then Lord Chaitanya makes sure that that person also gets the benefit of Haridas's transcendental pastime. As my servitor, your position is unique. You have therefore imprisoned me within your heart eternally. I bless you that since you are crowned already with a faultless character, that you will always continue to worship and serve me and my devotees without a single deviation or offense. So now he's giving him a huge blessing. A tumultuous sound of joy from the Vaishnavas greeted Lord Chaitanya's boon to Haridas Thakur. So when the devotees heard the blessing that Haridas received directly from Lord Chaitanya, they made a lot of noise. And high birth, caste, fruitive activities, or wealth are worthless commodities to achieve love of Godhead. Only in the intense, loving desire for Krishna can bring one to the lotus feet. In the spiritual matters, there is no loss or anything disheartening. Everything has a positive outcome. Please rejoice as we read below the benediction of just hearing the above chapter from Chaitanya Bhagavat, Madhya Lila, chapter 10. One who hears the pastime of the Lord and Haridas Thakur with a proper faith will certainly enjoy the fruit of Lord Krishna's prema, or love. These words are not my concoction, but the bold declarations of all scriptures. One is sure to experience the bliss of devotional service to Lord Krishna if one hears the transcendental activities of the pure devotees of the Lord Sri Krishna. All glories to Haridas Thakur, all glories amongst the Vaishnavas, remembering him, one is freed from all sinful reactions. Ho, Haribol, Haribol, Haribol. So here we see the example of Haridas Thakur, who was very humble and always engaged in Krishna consciousness, and always a well-wisher, even of his enemies. And he never had a bad thought. He was always wishing good things for others. And now the Lord blessed him with the greatest blessing, and that is that he can always be engaged in devotional service and always focusing his mind on Krishna. That's the Krishna Matir Astu. May you always remember Krishna. That's the greatest benediction, because at the moment of death, you will remember Krishna and go back to Godhead. Okay, we'll stop right there. Are there any questions? The 12 Mahajans are Brahma, Shiva, Narada, and then Kumara, Kapila, and Prahlada. Bhisma, Shiva, and Narada. Manu, the Kumaras, Kapila, and then Sukadev Goswami, Yamaraj, Janaka, and Bali Maharaj. Yeah. Okay. Any questions? Now we can see what a rascal this Sartre was. He was a terrible person. And people still, when you study modern philosophers, they study Sartre. And kids are exposed to his nonsense. You're condemned to be independent. You have to reinvent yourself every minute. There's no God. This is what they're teaching in philosophy classes. Okay, no questions, so we'll have Guru Puja. Haribol. It's no wonder the kids, they go to school, they go to college, they end up being atheists. They're being taught all this rubbish as if it's important. I wouldn't even use the paper in his books as toilet paper because it's contaminated with all the nonsense he's written.
Once they plant these ideas,
Huh?
once they plant these ideas of already we have the false ego. So
Yeah.
once they plant these ideas, people want to reject.
False ego increases 10 million times. You're condemned to be independent.
People feel confident that what I'm thinking is correct. I want to be controller.
What you're thinking is corrupt, not correct. Corrupt.
I spoke to few people, Maharaj, those exactly think like this, and there was no conversation going anywhere. It's just like dead end.
Yeah. No, they're immune. They have an immunity to the truth. They don't accept it. They love to hear nonsense, speculation. Yeah. Okay, let's start. You want to lead the kirtan?
Oh, yeah, you can.
You come.
Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakati Sadma
Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakati Sarma
Bando Mui Savadhana Mate
Mando Mui Savadana Ate
Jahara Prasade Bhai Eva Vatoriya
Chanara Prasade E Bhavatoriya Jai
Krishna Prapti Hoy Jaha Hate
Krishna Prapti Hoya Hoyte
Guru Mukh
Titi Koriya
Arana kori ho mane asha.
Arana Koriya
Shri Guru Charane Rati Aise Udhamagati.
Shri Guru Charane Rati Ese Udhamagati
Jai Prasade Pure Sarva Asha.
Ye Prasade Pure Sarva
Chaturana Dilo Jai Janme Janme Prabhu Shai.
Chakshusthana
Divya Jnana Rida Prakashita. Prema Bhakti Jaha Hoite Avidya Vinasa Jate.
Prema
Vede Gaya Jahara Charita. Shri Guru Karuna Sindhu Alhama Janara Bandhu.
Shri Guru Charana Sindhu Adamadara Bandhu
Lokanatha Loke Raji Vana.
Lokanatha
Aha Prabhu Koro Doya Deha More Padachaya.
Aha Prabhu Koradaya Deha More Padachaya
Eve Jasa Gusutri Bhuvana.
Eveyasa Gushuti Bhuvana
Prabhupada Patita Pavana. Namah Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine.
Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine
Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Pastyatya Deshatarine.
Satarine
Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda
Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya
Chaitanya
Prabhu Nityananda
Nityananda
Shri Advaita Gadadha Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktavrinda
Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda
Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya
Chaitanya
Prabhu Nityananda
Nityananda
Shri Advaita Gadadha Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktavrinda
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada
Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada
Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada
Hare
Jaya Gurudeva Jaya Gurudeva Jaya Gurudeva
Jaya Gurudeva Jaya Gurudeva Jaya Gurudeva Jaya Gurudeva
Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol
Jai Gaur
Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai
Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravajika Chasta Satara Shri Shimadi's Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Goswami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Sikho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasudeva Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai Shri Radha Krishna Gogopinath Swami Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Shri Vrindavan Dham ki jai, Mayapura Dham ki jai, Jagannath Puri Dham ki jai, Tulasi Devi ki jai, Bhakti Devi ki jai, Ganga Maya ki jai, Jamuna Maya ki jai, Samaveda Bhakti Vrinda ki jai, Nitai Gaura Premanandi. All glories to Samaveda, all glories to Samaveda, all glories to Samaveda, all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Guranga, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, Patita Bhavana ki jai. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vesta Bhuti Vishnu the lotus feet of our spiritual master, the only way by which we can attain to pure devotional service. I bow down to this lotus feet with great honor and reverence. By his grace, one can cross the ocean of material suffering and obtain the mercy of Krishna. My only wish is that my conscience purified.